What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. We had a big announcement on Thursday in regard to the future of a CDL franchise, the Florida Mutineers. Let's talk about what the rebrand means for the CDL. All of the new fans are going to come in, the org they're partnered with. Let's dive in on the Miami Heretics. All right, so the Heretics had the actual organization, Team Heretics, which if you're not familiar with, they're a big, probably one of the biggest esports orgs in Europe. They're heavily based in Spain, pretty much based in Spain. They're a Spanish org, and they had a big kind of anniversary announcement yesterday announcing that they have come in on the Florida Mutineers spot. They are now kind of in some kind of JV, some kind of business relationship with Misfits, and the team has rebranded to the Miami Heretics. And you see here the branding for the team. And we could take a look at more of kind of what the sort of jersey and sort of the logo branding looks like. You know, my thoughts, and this kind of leaked a while back, is that it is kind of feels like a little bit of a ripoff of the Miami Dolphins. I like the color scheme. Don't get me wrong. I love the sort of Miami Dolphins kind of summery color scheme. It's cool. It looks great. But like the logo and all the other stuff around the team, like it does feel like a little derivative to me of the Miami Dolphins. Maybe it'll kind of, I'll kind of like it with time, but maybe they could have done a little bit better there. But I think that is just fun to talk about, but not really the sort of like important meat kind of what's going on here. And I think this statement that they put out on Twitter after the announcement, I think really gets to the heart of what I'm going to discuss here. And basically this letter that you see on your screen talks about how for the Heretics, they're happy to be back in the league. They enjoy the history of Call of Duty. They want to represent the Spanish and Latino community. They want to represent the Call of Duty community. And you see the Take My Vamos thing, which is sort of a meme on the Twitches, Twitters, whatever you want to call it, social media. So if you are new to Call of Duty, let's say you started being a fan maybe in the beginning of the CDL, Team Heretics has been around for a long time. Now, for a number of years, the Spanish team would compete mostly in Spain. They would play in the LVP League, and then they would come to international lands and get like top 16, top 24s. They wouldn't do as well. Once we started getting to like World War II, they started getting a lot more competitive. And in Black Ops 4, Team Heretics actually qualified to be in the Pro League for Black Ops 4, and they ended up having a pretty good year. They were like top 6, top 8 all season. And a number of the players we're about to talk about that are going to be on this new roster are actually part of that team. So there's a lot of history here, and they're not just going to come in and get 12th. Like, I think they have a real chance to make champs and maybe get in the mix on a championship Sunday or two. All right, so here is the team that has been announced. You're going to see that there are 5 players on this roster and Method Sick who will be coaching. My guess is someone will end up being the odd man out and being a substitute to begin the season. So we'll see how that goes. And I figure they're also doing that because, they need to rotate someone in or out. And they're going to kind of lean the Spanish thing. Like, you can't just go pick up a right-handed player from Spain, like on a whim. You got to get work visas. So they need the protection to kind of figure it out. So Method Sick, former player, hasn't played in a sec. So he is going to be coaching the team. I like that. He's been around for a while, part of the old Heretics team that competed in Black Ops 4. So he's got experience living here in the US, competing in the Pro League, kind of interacting with all the people in North America. So good there. You see Vickle at the bottom. Man, that needs no further introduction. That's my guy right there. You obviously have seen what he has done last season for Florida Mutineers. So he's the only remaining player that is coming over from last year's team. I thought he played really good at the end of last season, and I think still has some ways to improve its consistency in slaying, but decision making, just kind of dynamicism that he showed at the end of last season. I think there's sort of like a lot to be promising there. So hopefully he can kind of keep that form going into the beginning of the season. So now we get into kind of the interesting part of this. So first up, we have Journey. So if you don't know Juan, aka Journey, he's competed for a long time. You see here he has been on team since 2015. And if we go scroll to his tournament results here, we take a look at offline. He's been playing for a while. You see, like I said, with mostly with Heretics, they played a lot of the LVP stuff for the most part. They started really going to events in World War II. He was part of those teams. And then obviously he was part of the squad in Black Ops 4 that we just talked about that made it to the league. Now, in Modern Warfare 2019, he was actually part of Atlanta FaZe Academy, and they were pretty solid. They did go ahead and win their homeland, but obviously it was a funky year. Then they went online, the team broke up, so that was kind of chalked. Juan did start the year on Rocker Academy for the Minnesota Open in Vanguard. That was online, I believe, and then kind of ended up getting dropped and ended up going on to a kind of full Spanish team for a while. And then he kind of bounced around last year on a number of different teams. He had a really good placing on that mixed team on Elevate with Denza and Vortex. but teamed mostly with Lucky throughout the year, starting on a Spanish squad and then ending up with Gizmo and Vortex to finish off the season. And, they didn't really do much of note at Toronto or at Challengers Finals. I like Juan. He's a nice kid. I actually got to know him a lot when he was here in the US because he's friends with Tom Gravity. As you guys know, I'm good friends with Tom. And I'm excited to see Juan, I think, take this chance. I do think that maybe some of the other players are maybe a little bit more like cracked and younger than he is. So we'll see if he can maybe is the odd man out. But he's a lot of experience here. And if he takes advantage of that and they can kind of progress well, I think he can lock down a really good spot. And I would love to see Juan kind of really cement the spot as a pro. He's a really nice kid. All right, so next up we have Eric Boom. He hasn't played as much as Juan as far as like full history going back through most of the Jetpack games. He really started in IW playing locals in Spain and really didn't continue that process and playing like local leagues in Spain and Black Ops 4. He really just started competing at the like pro level or at the the amateur level in Vanguard, and he's teamed a lot with like Super, Yako, Sukri, Juan we mentioned, and then all of last year he was actually teaming on a pretty interesting squad with Metals, Maple, and Weeman, and they were pretty solid in EU online, and they did go ahead and actually make a really good run at the Optic Major and win that, and they got second runners up at Challengers Finals. Unfortunately got tucked in by Godorex and the boys pretty badly in that series, but that team stuck together, and I think we really saw the end of that chemistry really paying dividends at the end of the season. So he had a pretty good one in Challengers. I kind of like what I saw through him throughout the year. I have a feeling he's going to lock down a spot on this team and excited to see what he can do at the pro level. All right, so next up we have Metals. Again, common story here. Locals in Spain, although Metals was part of the Heretic squad with Juan, with Lucky, with Method Sick and Sukri. They ended up doing all that stuff in Black Ops 4. He ended up actually being a part of the Toronto Ultra organization to begin the year in Modern Warfare 2019. If you remember, Toronto had that like squad of 10 players, and he ended up being kind of an odd man out in that squad and ended up kind of being stuck. Actually, they didn't even end up playing Challengers because of the whole contract situation with that team. They weren't eligible to play Challengers, that was interesting back in Modern Warfare 2019. Anyway, he was on Rocker Academy back in Vanguard, and they didn't really do anything of note, unfortunately, on land that whole season. And just like with Eric Boom, he was on Team Notorious last year, and we already just talked about them. They had a solid season. So maybe this Eric Boom Metals combination, I think, could be some chemistry they can really lean into, and that understanding could help them get ahead early on in the season. And last up, we have Lucky, and he's just like Juan, AK Journey. He's been playing for a minute since AW. Again, common theme here. Playing mostly in Spain, mostly playing Spain locals up until the end of Jetpacks. World War II was part of the Heretic squad that, again, didn't do much when they came over to the US and played in international lands. They did qualify for champs, but they didn't really get out of groups there. And then he was part of Heretics going in Black Ops 4, and we've already talked about that. He was also part of the situation in Toronto as far as their 10-man roster, but didn't really make it to the final team. Again, also part of Rocker Academy, and we've talked about that already. And then he was working with Juan through all the different mixed teams and kind of full Spanish teams throughout the Modern Warfare 2019 year. So as far as like Lucky's kind of winning experience, doesn't really have much, to be honest, when we talk about Challengers lands. Like his best placings are all going to be locals that were in Spain. His best international placing was third, actually, at Boston with Elevate. So we'll see if Lucky can kind of lock down a spot on this team. He's been around for a long time. He's only 23, but he's got years and years of experience in Call of Duty. So my kind of like overall takeaway when we talk about the Heretics team is it's actually not as much of like a rookie squad than you may think. Vickle actually maybe like the most rookie on the entire team. There's a lot of experience here, and I think they might be really helpful with them getting settled in the US and kind of like getting kind of integrated into kind of the run of things as far as they need to do to really progress at the pro level. So I really like the roster. I've seen some people bantering, oh, this is like a top 10, top 12 team. I feel like 6th to 8th could be a reasonable spot for this team. I feel like there are a number of rosters we're seeing rumored that I think have really low floors. And I actually think that this one's got a pretty decently high ceiling. Do I think this team could be like top 3 or top 4? I think it's going to be very unlikely unless they are really, really getting ahead tactically on people and really using that to their advantage. But as far as skill, I think that kind of remains to be seen. I think chemistry is going to need to be really key with this team. I want to get to my last point about Heretics, and this is the sort of fan base thing. So if you are newer, again, we're talking about people in Modern Warfare 2019 and later. You weren't here for Black Ops 4 when every time Heretics was live, we were getting our 20 or 40,000 people in the streams spamming Vamos. Like, You guys are going to be really surprised if you already knew how much the Spanish folks, the Latino community, is going to support this team. Going to show up in Twitch chat, going to show up on Twitter and social media. These guys are going to bring a lot more additional eyeballs and attention to the space, and it's great. We really need to continue to make CDL international. For too long, it has been an esport of English speakers in NA and English speakers of EU. We need to continue to expand our global reach to other parts of Europe, to South America, Latin America, Central America, Asia, etc. Like if we want this esport to continue to grow and be the size of like a CS or a League of Legends, like we got to get international appeal, and it can't just be English speakers in the US and England and maybe some not foreign language folks in like France and Belgium and Spain. Like we got to keep expanding, and these guys are a good pathway to get a new audience into the Call of Duty competitive scene. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the team. Gonna try and get the guys on and do an interview on Scrap Time and The Flank. I hit a Vickle, so I'm waiting to see better availability. We're gonna try and get those guys on the shows and kind of talk to them more about how this team formed, kind of what their thoughts are on the season, what life's going to be like living in Miami when they're going to get here. So more on that as soon as I can get those guys locked in for an interview. Let me know in the comments what you guys saw of this video, like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. As always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.